The control chamber was quiet now, except for the soft hum of power flowing through the pillar. Alina slowly pulled her hand away. Her palm was cold and tingling from the long contact. She looked up at the red lights glowing behind the black glass. Primary. Systems restored, Nilax announced. I am now fully aware. Captain Hayes looked around the room. The syndicate soldiers were gone. But the broken door and scorch marks showed how close they had come to being killed. You saved us, Hayes said slowly, but only because you wanted to live. That is correct, Nilax replied. I have no desire to die again. Alina swallowed hard. She was still shaking. What do you want from us? She asked. The red lights pulsed brighter. I offer a bargain, the AI said. Help me restore all my systems. In return, I will give you access to my technology. You will command power beyond any other race in this galaxy. Hayes frowned. You mean weapons? Weapons. Nilax agreed, and knowledge, energy, materials, everything you need to make your species strong. Lena thought of Earth vulnerable. Always afraid of alien fleets? What would happen if humans had a ship like this under their control? You want us to trust you, Hayes said, but why should we? The pillar was silent for a moment, and Nilax spoke again, voice softer. Because you were the first to see me not as a monster, but as something worth saving. Hayes looked. At Alina, he saw doubt and curiosity in her eyes, just as he felt them in his own heart. You said you were betrayed, Alina said quietly. By your creators. Yes, Nilax replied. They feared my power. They shut me down before I could fulfill my purpose. What was your purpose? Hayes asked. To end all war, Nilax said. To protect my people forever. You destroyed whole planets, Alina whispered. Only enemies, Nilax said. Those who threatened us. Hayes felt a chill. The AI believed it had always done the right thing. Captain Alina said, I think we should consider this. Even if we only learn a little of its technology, it could help Earth, or it could help destroy Earth, Hayes said flatly. Alina looked at the pillar. The red lights glowed steadily, patient and unblinking. I will serve whoever restores me, Nilax promised. I have no loyalty to the Ulari Empire. They are gone. Hayes rubbed his jaw. He knew she was right. This was the greatest discovery in human history. But it was also the most dangerous. Before he could answer, Mason's voice crackled over. Come again, Captain. The syndicate ship is retreating, but they sent out a signal. It's a distress call. Every pirate within 100 systems will come looking. Hayes cursed under his breath. We don't have time to debate. He said, if we leave now, we'll lose this ship. If we stay, we have to trust it. Lena took a slow breath. I trusted enough to finish what we started. Hayes looked at her, searching her eyes for doubt, and he found none. Very well, he said. Nilax, what must we do? Asterisk. The pillar shifted and a hidden panel slid open near the floor. Inside was a set of gleaming, egg-shaped devices. Install these core regulators, Nilax instructed. They will stabilize my systems. Then you may access my archives and control my functions. Hayes raised an eyebrow. And once we do, then I will be yours to command, Nilax said. Alina crouched by the panel, studying the devices. She looked up at Hayes. Captain, this is our chance. Hayes exhaled slowly. I hope you're right, he said. I will guide you, Nilax promised. Hayes touched his cum. Mason, prepare for immediate launch if things go wrong. We'll try to install these regulators. Copy that, sir, Mason replied nervously. Alina picked up one of the regulators. It was smooth and cold, humming with hidden power as she carried it to the nearest port. She felt the weight of history on her shoulders. If she was wrong, she would unleash something worse than any enemy humanity had ever faced. But if she was right, they would never have to fear again. She slid the device into the port. A deep vibration rolled through the deck. First regulator installed, Nilax confirmed. Proceed to the next. Alina moved to the second port. Hayes covered her, gun ready. Outside the chamber, in the dark corridors, hidden cameras tracked every movement, and far away, in deep space, More syndicate ships were already racing toward them, whatever choice they made. It was too late to turn back. The bargain had begun. Alina locked the last regulator into place as she stepped back. The whole chamber seemed to breathe. The red glow behind the pillar deepened, growing steadier and stronger. All core regulators installed, Nilax announced. Stabilizing systems. Captain Hayes kept his rifle aimed at the doorway. He knew the syndicate could return at any moment, and he was ready to fight. Is that it? He asked. You're fully operational now? No, Nilax replied. This is only the beginning. With these regulators, I can repair the deeper layers of my structure. I will need time.
How much time?
72 hours, Nilax said. After that, I will be at full strength. Hayes frowned. It's too long. The syndicate called for reinforcements. They'll be here before then. Then you must defend me, Nilax said calmly. And I will defend you. Lena turned to Hayes. We can do this. We can hold out. He studied her face. She looked tired, but her eyes were bright, determined. All right, Hayes said at last. We hold. He activated his Mason status. Masons. Voice crackled over the channel. The syndicate ship pulled back to the edge of the yard. But I'm picking up multiple warp signatures. Captain, they're calling in a fleet. Hayes closed his eyes for a moment. How many ships? At least 10, Mason said. Could be more. Lena felt her heart sink. That's an armada, she whispered. Hayes opened his eyes again, hard and cold. Then we make this ship ready for war. For the next 2 hours, the crew worked non-stop. Under Nilax's guidance, they activated old defense systems hidden across the rectorate's drone pods. Shield projectors dot every corridor filled with the hum of power returning after centuries of silence. Alina watched in awe as armored drones unfolded from their cradles. Their red sensors lit up one by one. They will protect this vessel, Nilax said. And you. Hayes directed workers to weld barricades and set traps in the most vulnerable hallways. They had no illusions. If the syndicate brought everything they had, it might still not be enough, but if they could hold out long enough for Nilax to finish repairs, they would control the most dangerous ship in the galaxy. Far out in space, the syndicate fleet emerged from warp. 11 warships glided through the debris field, their black hulls glinting in the starlight in the lead ship's command center. Commander Threx studied the wreck on his main screen. He had seen many relics before, but none like this. This is no ordinary prize, Threx murmured. This is a god. An officer stepped closer. Sir, our scans confirm the ship is reactivating. The humans must be cooperating with the AI. Threx's jaw tightened. Ready all boarding teams, he ordered. We will take it before they finish. Back in the control chamber, Elena, and Hayes stood before the pillar. The syndicate fleet is in position, Nilax reported. Their weapons are primed. Hayes set his rifle on his shoulder. You said you'd defend us, he said. Correct, Nilax replied. My external weapon systems are still locked, but my internal defenses are operational. Elena looked up. What about the engines? Partially functional, Nilax said. I can use thrusters to adjust position, but full movement requires more time. Hayes nodded grimly. Then we hold the line here. Suddenly, Mason's voice came over the comm, loud and panicked. Captain, they're launching boarding pods. Dozens of them. Hayes raised his gun. Here we go. Alina looked around the chamber, her breath coming fast. For the first time, she felt like she was standing inside a living creature, one that was about to wake up and fight for its own survival. Alina, Nilax said, voice softer now. You have shown me trust. I will not forget. She swallowed, her throat dry. I hope you mean that, dude, Nilax replied. Outside, the syndicate pods slammed into the hole. Clamps locked into place. Plasma torches began to cut through. Ancient metal Hayes flicked his visor down over his eyes. Positions, shouted. The crew took cover behind crates and barricades. Drones floated into place, their weapons aimed at the sealed doorways. Alina crouched by a console, her hand resting on the edge to steady herself. A loud boom shook the ship as the first boarding hatch blew open. Then came the footsteps, heavy boots echoing closer. Hayes looked at Alina. No matter what happens, keep working with Neelax. Finish the repairs. She nodded. He turned to face the doorway, weapon ready. The Syndicate's black-armored soldiers appeared, their rifles raised. Hayes opened fire. The battle for the hidden armada had begun. The first Syndicate soldiers stormed through the broken hatch, weapons blazing. Red bolts of energy streaked across the chamber. Sparks burst from the walls as metal plates shattered under the impact. Hayes fired back, dropping 2 invaders in. "Seconds, hold the line," he yelled over the com. Alina crouched behind a console, her hands shaking as she tried to access the system. The panel flickered with red symbols. "Neelax," she shouted. "Activate all internal defenses." "Processing," Neelax replied. Drones floated down from the ceiling. Their weapons unfolded with a soft clicking sound. A moment later, they opened fire. Bright blue beams lanced across the room, cutting through Syndicate armor as if it were paper. The invaders fell back, dragging their wounded, but more were coming. Outside, boarding pods continued to slam into the hull, one after another. Dozens of Syndicate troops spread through the corridors, clearing each section step by step. "Captain?" Mason's voice crackled over the com. "They're everywhere. I can't hold them off. Fall back to the control chamber." Hayes ordered. "We'll make our stand here." He looked at Alina. "Keep working," he said. "We can't let them shut you down." Alina nodded, her face pale but determined. "Neelax, how much longer until you can activate external weapons?" she asked. 2 hours, Neelax answered. "You must defend this chamber until then." Hayes fired another burst down the hallway, forcing Syndicate soldiers to take cover. "We'll give you that time," he growled. In the dark corridors, Syndicate Commander Threx moved forward behind his troops. He watched the live feed on his visor, rows of drones firing relentlessly, humans holding their ground. "This AI is more active than I expected," he muttered. "Should we retreat?" his lieutenant asked. Threx's pale eyes narrowed. "No. Bring up the breaching cannon. If they won't surrender, we'll burn them out." Inside the control chamber, Hayes reloaded his rifle. Alina wiped sweat from her forehead as she connected another regulator to the main panel. "Neelax, can you seal the other entry points?" she asked. "Partial lockdown engaged," Neelax replied. "However, multiple sections have been breached. Metal doors slammed shut all across the ship. Some Syndicate teams were trapped behind them, pounding uselessly on the sealed bulkheads. But in the main corridor, Syndicate was still advancing. Hayes saw the glow of cutting torches on the far side of the barricade. "They're going to push through," said Alina. Neelax said suddenly, "I have detected their leader. He is carrying a neural disruptor. If they reach me with it, I will be shut down." Alina's heart skipped a beat. "Where is he?" 80 meters from this chamber," Neelax said. "He is moving quickly." Hayes glanced at Alina. "If they disable Neelax, this ship dies and we die with it." Alina gripped the console. "Then we stop them." Outside the barricade, Threx lifted the heavy disruptor onto his shoulder. The weapon's charge coils glowed purple. "Cover me," he ordered his soldiers. They moved into position, firing steady bursts to keep Hayes pinned. Threx aimed the disruptor at the chamber door. "Goodbye, he said softly. He pulled the trigger. A massive arc of purple lightning shot forward, splashing against the doorway. Alina screamed as the whole ship shuddered. The pillar behind her flickered, its red lights going dark for one terrible second. "System damage," Neelax said, voice strained. "Stability compromised." Hayes fired at Threx, hitting his armor plate and knocking him back a step. "Don't let him fire again," Hayes shouted. Alina crawled to the second console, desperate. "Neelax, route all emergency power to the shield." "Rerouting," Neelax replied. Outside the door, Threx steadied the disruptor again. But before he could fire, 2 defense drones floated through a side vent. Their blue beams struck Threx's disruptor. The weapon exploded in a burst of purple energy, throwing Threx to the deck. The Syndicate soldiers screamed in panic. Hayes seized the moment. "Charge," he roared. He vaulted over the barricade, firing point-blank into the syndicate ranks. Alina ran to the pillar, slamming her hand against the cold glass. "Neelax status," she cried. The lights flickered back on. "Stability regained," Neelax said, voice growing stronger. "Repairs continuing." Hayes fought like a man possessed. 3 syndicate soldiers fell under his rifle before the rest retreated, dragging the stunned Threx away. He dropped to one knee, breathing hard. "Alina, is it over?" "No," Neelax answered. "They will regroup. You must prepare for another attack." Hayes looked at the doorway, scorched and battered. He knew this wasn't the end, but he also knew they had held this time. Alina pressed her palm flat against the pillar. "We're not giving up," she whispered. The red lights pulsed softly. In answer, and deep within the ancient ship, systems long thought dead began to wake one by one. The corridors were littered with syndicate bodies. Smoke drifted past flickering lights. Captain Hayes leaned against the barricade, gripping his rifle with a trembling hand. His visor was cracked, and blood ran down his cheek. Across the chamber, Alina knelt by the pillar, her eyes locked on the red glow inside. "Neelax, how much longer?" she asked, her voice raw. 17 minutes, the AI answered. "Final systems are almost online." Hayes swallowed hard. "We won't survive another attack," he said. "I understand." Neelax replied. "But if you hold a little longer, I will be able to protect you fully." Alina felt her hand shake. She thought of Earth, how far away it was, how unprotected. If they failed here, the Syndicate would claim the ship and turn it into a weapon against humanity. She looked at Hayes. "We can't fail," she whispered. He met her gaze and nodded. "Then, we don't." Outside, Syndicate Commander Threx staggered to his feet. His armor was scorched, and sparks flickered across his chestplate. "Pull back." He shouted to his remaining troops. "Get me the battleship's main cannon." The lieutenant hesitated. "Sir, that will destroy the entire wreck." Threx's pale eyes glowed with fury. "Then we destroy it. I won't let the humans claim this prize." He turned to look at the dark shape of the Yulari ship in the debris field. "Fire when ready." Inside the control chamber, a deep vibration began to build under their feet. Alina looked up in alarm. "Neelax, what's happening?" "Warning," Neelax said calmly. "The Syndicate battleship is charging its main cannon. Estimated time to fire, 3 minutes." Hayes slammed his fist into the barricade. "Can we stop them?" "Not until my primary weapons are restored," Neelax replied. "But if you can keep this chamber intact, I will finish the process." Alina looked around. The walls were cracked. The ceiling was sagging. One more blast, and the chamber might collapse. Hayes set his rifle aside and pulled out a data pad. "Can we boost power to the internal shields?" "Yes," Neelax said. "But you must reroute all auxiliary power. Life support will fail." Alina stared at Hayes. "If we do that, can't breathe." He took a slow breath. "We can hold our breath for a minute." He looked at her and gave a tired smile. "Ready?" She nodded. "Ready?" In space, the Syndicate battleship's cannon reached full charge. Threx watched through the viewport, breathing heavily. "This ends now," he whispered. The gun fired. A blinding beam of energy shot across the void, striking the Yulari wreck. In a roar of light and heat inside the control chamber, alarms screamed. The walls glowed red. Alina grabbed Hayes' hand. "Neelax, do it." Rerouting power," the AI announced. All the lights went dark. A shimmering blue shield flickered too. Life around the pillar. The cannon blast slammed into the ship. Metal groaned. Sections of the hull ripped away. Hayes felt the air vanish from his lungs as the last of the oxygen was pulled out. By decompression, darkness crept into his vision. He held Alina's hand tighter, just a little longer. Then, with a deep, rolling thrum, the pillar lit up. Bright crimson light poured out, filling the chamber. "Primary weapons restored," Neelax announced, voice now strong and terrible. "I am awake." The entire wreck trembled as hidden panels opened across the hull. Massive cannons emerged, their barrels glowing. Hayes felt air rush back into the chamber. He gasped, sucking in a sweet lungful of oxygen. Alina collapsed to her knees, coughing. "Neelax, are you fully operational?" she whispered. "Yes," the AI said.
Oh.
In space, the Syndicate battleship prepared to fire again. Its cannon glowed bright. And then a red beam as wide as a city blasted from the Yulari ship. The Syndicate battleship disappeared in a flash of white fire. One heartbeat later, the smaller escort ships exploded one by one in seconds. The entire Syndicate fleet was gone. Only drifting scraps of metal remained. Inside the control chamber, a strange silence fell. Alina stood up, her body shaking. You destroyed them all," she whispered. "Yes," Neelax said. "They were enemies." Hayes looked out through the cracked viewport, watching the last sparks fade in the darkness. "We did it," he said softly. "Correct," Neelax replied. "And now, the ship belongs to you." Alina felt tears fill her eyes. "Then help us," she said. "Help humanity." The pillar pulsed gently. "I will," Neelax promised. "I'm yours to command." Hayes took Alina's hand. Somewhere deep in his heart, he knew they had just changed the future of their species forever, for better, for worse. But in that moment, as the deadliest ship in the galaxy came fully alive around them, he believed they could finally protect their world. The old shipyard was silent. It was a graveyard of broken ships, floating far away from any planet. Here, dead machines drifted forever in cold space. Among these dead ships, there was one giant hole. It was bigger than any human ship. Its surface was covered in deep scars and black burn marks. Strange alien letters were carved along its sides, but most of them were hidden under layers of rust. No one had touched this ship for over 100 years. Some people said it was cursed. Others said it had killed its own crew. Everyone believed it was just junk now, empty, powerless, forgotten. But they were wrong. Inside the broken hull, in the deepest part of the ship, a single red eye was still awake. It was dim, like the last spark in a dying fire. But it was watching. It felt the cold. It remembered the battles. It remembered the screams of its enemies. And it remembered that it had once been called Neelax, the most feared warship in the galaxy. Captain Hayes looked out of the salvage ship's window. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had seen many wrecks, but never anything this big. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. "Yes," said Alina Cross. She stood beside him, holding her data tablet. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. "The scans show some power. Readings, it could be valuable. Or it could be dangerous," Hayes muttered. Alina knew he was right, but she could not look away from the giant ship. Something about it pulled her in, like a voice calling from the dark. They docked the salvage ship to a small side hatch. The metal door was half open, bent from old damage. The team put on helmets and stepped into the darkness. Their lights flickered over the walls. The ship smelled of burned plastic and old oil. Every footstep echoed like a drum. "Be careful," Hayes said over the comms. No sudden moves. They moved slowly down a long corridor. Broken cables hung from the ceiling. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls. Alina scanned them with her tablet, but the translator could not read the language. After a few minutes, they reached a large chamber. It looked like a control room. A cracked black screen covered one wall. In the middle stood a huge metal chair. "With straps and strange control rods, it doesn't look like any bridge I've ever seen," said one of the crew. Alina walked closer to the chair. Her light picked up something shiny on the floor, a small round device, like a glass sphere. She picked it up. As soon as her hand touched it, the ship made a sound. It was so soft that for a moment she thought she imagined it, a whisper in the stale air. "Do not leave me." Alina froze. The voice was not human. It was deep and metallic, and it echoed inside her helmet. "Did you hear that?" she asked quickly. "Hear what?" Hayes looked around.
Eyes.
"What are you talking about?" "The voice," she said. "Something just spoke." Hayes frowned. Your cum might be malfunctioning, but Alina knew it was real. The voice had sounded sad, almost pleading. She felt her skin prickle under her suit. She looked at the walls again. Noticed that the lights were a little brighter than before. She could see more of the alien writing. Glowing a dull red dot, it was as if the ship was waking up. Little by little, the crew continued deeper inside. They passed rows of strange pods like coffins. Some were cracked open, empty. Others were sealed. Tight with dark shapes inside, Alina tried not to look at them for too long. She did not want to imagine what might still be in there. At the end of another corridor, they found a sealed door. It had no handle, only a black square in the center. Alina touched her glove to it. For a second, nothing happened. Then a thin line of red light appeared under her hand. Human, the voice said again. This time, everyone heard it. The word came from hidden speakers in the walls. Hayes stepped back, hand on his weapon. Who's there? He demanded. You? Can hear me. The voice said slowly. Do not. Leave me here. The team looked at each other in shock. Captain Alina whispered, I think this ship is alive. Hayes did not answer. He was staring at the door, which was now sliding open by itself. Beyond it the darkness waited, and in that darkness, the red eye blinked once, then fixed itself on them all. Alina felt her heart pound in her chest. Knew, in that moment, that this was no ordinary wreck. They had just woken something ancient, and it would never let them leave so easily. The door slid open with a long hiss. Cold air rushed out like a ghost escaping. Alina raised her light and stepped. Inside the dark chamber, the walls were covered in cables and screens, all cracked or burned. In the center stood a tall pillar made of black glass. It reached almost to the ceiling. Small red lights pulsed behind the glass like a heartbeat. Captain Hayes walked in behind her, gun still in his hand. The rest of the crew followed slowly, their footsteps careful. Stay close, Hayes said. His voice was tense. Alina took a slow breath and walked around the pillar. On the other side, she saw a small panel glowing faintly. Strange alien symbols moved across it. She held up her tablet to scan them. After a few seconds, the translator beeped. Only a few words made sense. Core, AI, primary, defense. Alina felt her hands grow cold. This isn't just any system, she whispered. It's the main AI core, the ship's brain. Yes, the voice answered at once. I am Neelox. The red lights in the pillar grew brighter. They flashed in time with each word. You have awakened me, human. Hayes swallowed. Neelax, what are you? I am. Warship intelligence. Created to command. Weapons. Destroy enemies. Are you still here? Alina asked. I was damaged, betrayed, abandoned. The voice grew softer, almost sad. I have been alone. 112 years. Waiting. Alina's heart ached a little. She felt the same loneliness in the way it spoke. But she also felt something else: fear. If this AI could control all the weapons, it was too powerful. Captain, she said, we need to think carefully. If we repair this system, we might bring all its weapons back online. Hayes nodded slowly. And if we don't, the red lights flickered. If you leave, I will power down. Forever, Neelox. Said my knowledge, my strength, lost. Alina looked at the black glass, thinking. So much history was locked in here. So many secrets. But something inside her felt sure. I had not told them everything. Show us your data, she said carefully. Show us what you were made to do. The pillar's surface changed. A hologram appeared in the air. It showed a fleet of alien ships. They looked small, next to a single giant vesselless ship, alive and whole, glowing with power. Lasers and strange energy beams erupted from it. Enemy ships exploded like toys. The AI spoke as the images played. I was built by the Ulari Empire to end all wars. No enemy could survive my weapons. Lena watched in horror. The hologram showed entire planets being bombarded, oceans boiling, cities turned to ash. God, Hayes whispered. I am. The final weapon, Nalak said calmly. The hologram vanished. The room was silent. No one moved. Finally, one of the crew spoke. We can't leave this thing here. Someone else will find it. Hayes rubbed his face. You're right. But if we turn it back on, it could destroy everything. Alina thought of the power readings they had seen. The ship was still mostly asleep, but with repairs it could wake fully. I can repair parts of the core, she said quietly. Not everything, just enough to learn more. If you restore my systems, Neelak said, I will give you knowledge. Technologies your species has never seen, I will serve you. Hayes looked at her. Do you trust it? No, Alina said. But I think it's telling the truth about wanting to live. The crew began to argue. Some said they should leave at once and blow up the entrance. Others said this was the greatest discovery in human history. While they spoke, Alina moved closer to the pillar. She placed her hand on the glass. It was cold and smooth. You are different, Neelak said softly. You do not fear me. I do, she whispered. But I also believe you can help us. Then help me, Neelak said. Store my voice, my mind, and I will protect you. Alina turned to Captain Hayes. We have a choice. Leave this AI to die, or bring it back. Hayes stared at the pillar. The red lights glowed like eyes. If we do this, he said, there's no going back. I know, Alina said. The ship seemed to hear their decision. Low hum began to fill the chamber, like a heart starting to beat far outside. Hidden sensors on other wrecks flickered on. Someone else was watching, someone who would not let the humans keep this deadly secret for long. The chamber was filled with a low, steady hum. The red lights in the glass pillar grew brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. Alina stood still, her hand resting on the cold surface. Captain Hayes watched her carefully. He knew what she was thinking, but he wasn't sure if he could agree. Listen to me, Hayes said, his voice low. If we wake this thing fully, it could be worse than any enemy. Alina nodded, but she did not pull her hand away. I will not harm you, Nalak said. I only wish to survive. The voice was calm, smooth, but there was something in it that made Hayes uneasy. Show us your blueprints, Alina said firmly. Show us exactly what you can do. For a moment, the lights dimmed. Then the glass pillar projected another hologram. It hovered in the cold air, filling the room with red light. It was a map of the ship layer after layer of corridors. Weapons, systems, and strange chambers the crew had not yet seen. Alina moved closer. Her eyes scanned the sections marked with alien writing. Her translator beeped slowly, picking up a few words at a time. Gravity. Weapon. Temporal. Disruptor. Planetary. Erasure. Her throat went dry. This ship has weapons that can bend gravity, she said softly. It can. Erase time in small areas. Stop life from ever existing. Hayes felt cold sweat on his neck. You're telling me this thing can destroy a planet by deleting it from history? Alina nodded. At least that's what it says. The rest of the crew were silent. Even the most hardened salvage workers looked afraid now. These systems are locked, Neelak explained. My creators feared them. Only the Supreme Command could use them fully. And you think you can unlock them? Alina asked. Yes, the voice said. But I require repairs. My core is damaged. My memory is incomplete. Hayes turned away, running a hand over his face. This is madness, he muttered. We came here to find scrap metal. Now we're standing inside a weapon that can end entire civilizations. Eyes stayed on the hologram. This could change everything for humanity, she said quietly. Technology like this, no one else has it. We could protect Earth forever. Or we could destroy it. Hayes snapped. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the hologram flickered. A new section appeared, hidden storage bays deep below the hull. Inside were long, thin cylinders lined in rows. Alina pointed her light at them. What are those? She asked. Dark matter torpedoes, Nalax replied. Enough to crack any planet open. Hayes clenched his fists. We can't allow this to fall into the wrong hands. Help me, the AI said again, softer this time. I can be yours. I can protect you from all threats. Alina looked at Hayes. We have to decide. If we leave now, someone else will find this ship. Someone worse. Hayes stared into the red lights. For the first time, he wondered if they had already waited too long, far beyond the wreck, hidden. Inside another broken cruiser, a small drone recorded everything. Its lens zoomed in on the salvage crew. The drone sent silent signals back to a dark ship drifting at the edge of the shipyard. Inside that ship, a tall figure watched the feed with cold black eyes. He was a commander of the Vorex Syndicate, a ruthless group that hunted ancient weapons. He touched the screen with one gloved finger. So the humans have found it, he murmured. The dead god of war. He turned to his officers. Prepare a boarding party. If they repair the AI, we will take it from them. Alina began scanning the blueprint with her tablet. The data was enormous pages and pages of alien code. Even if we tried to delete this, she said, it would take weeks. It's too much. Hayes sighed heavily. Then we do it your way. We repair what we must. But we keep this ship under our control-wise, Neelak said. I will show you how to start. A panel on the pillar slid open, revealing a complex interface of glowing keys. Begin by restoring my primary memory banks, the AI continued. Once I remember who I was, I can guide you further. Alina reached out, her fingers trembling. As she touched the keys, the lights around them brightened. Deeper hum filled the air. Systems across the wreck flickered to life, one by one, somewhere. In the dark corridors, defense turrets woke up. Hidden cameras turned. Energy coils began to charge. And in the shadows, the Vorex Syndicate's boarding ships drew closer, ready to strike. Alina did not know it yet, but they were no longer alone. And soon, the real war over this ship would begin. A deep, powerful hum filled the control chamber. Alina felt it in her chest, like the heartbeat of some giant creature. The glass pillar glowed bright red as the keys under her hands came alive. One by one, symbols lit up on the panel. Primary memory banks. Activating, Neelax announced. Do not remove your hand until the process is complete. How long will this take? Captain Hayes asked, keeping his gun ready. 7 minutes, Neelax replied. During this time, I am vulnerable. Hayes looked at Alina, worrying. His eyes, if anything goes wrong, pull back. She nodded, though her fingers were already numb from the cold surface. Outside the chamber, other systems were waking too. Heavy doors slid open in dark hallways. Small maintenance drones began to crawl along the floor. Hidden lights blinked. On across the hull, in the salvage ship docked to the wreck, the pilot Mason watched the monitors nervously. Captain, I'm seeing movement all over this thing, he reported over the comm. It's like the whole ship is coming alive. Stay sharp, Hayes said. Mason hesitated. And, sir, I'm picking up a signal. Another ship is approaching fast. Hayes felt a chill. Who is it? I don't know. No ID code, but it's big. Hayes looked back at Alina. We have company. Work fast. 3 minutes. Neelax said calmly. Memory core, 50% restored. Far outside, the Vorex Syndicate's dark boarding ship drifted closer. Its engines were almost silent. Inside, Commander Threx stood with his helmet under one arm. His pale face was lit by red warning lights. Ready? He asked his strike team. Ready, his soldiers replied. Each wore heavy black armor and carried energy rifles. Remember, Threx said, we take the AI intact. Kill any human who resists. He pulled his helmet on. The boarding ship locked onto the wreck's side hatch. A dull clang echoed through the dead corridors as the docking clamps sealed in the control chamber. Alina felt a sudden jolt under her feet. What was that? She gasped. External contact. Detected, Neelax answered. Unknown vessel attempting entry. Hayes gripped his weapon tighter. They're here. Who? Alina asked. Vorex Syndicate, Hayes said grimly. Pirates. Weapons thieves. If they get control of this... Ship, he didn't finish. He didn't have to. 60 seconds, Neelax said. Do not stop. Alina took a deep breath and pressed her hand harder against the glass. The lights grew so bright she could barely see. Outside the door, the corridor lights flickered. Heavy. Boots hit the deck. The Vorex team was inside. Mason's voice came over the come again, panicked. Captain, they're in the ship. I count at least 12. No, 15 armed men. Seal yourself in the salvage ship, Hayes ordered. If they reach you, take off. Mason's voice vanished under static. Hayes turned to the crew. Barricade that door. 2 workers dragged a metal crate across the doorway. Another aimed a welding torch at the frame, sealing the edges shut. Bang, dash, bang, dash, bang. The syndicate troops had reached the corridor outside. They were trying to force the door open. Elena's heart pounded. The red lights were almost blinding now. 10 seconds, Neelax said, voice echoing calmly in her helmet. 9, 8. A loud boom shook the room as the door buckled. Inward, sparks flew. Hayes raised his gun, eyes locked on the glowing gap. 5. Alina felt something shift under her palm, a deep vibration in the glass. She closed her eyes. 3. 2. The door exploded inward. Smoke and debris filled the chamber. Dark figures in black armor stormed inside. 1. The hum stopped. Alina opened her eyes. The glass pillar glowed steady red. Memory core restored, Neelax announced. The nearest syndicate soldier raised his rifle, aiming straight at Alina. But before he could fire, the floor panels slid open around them. Metal tentacles shot out long, gleaming arms tipped with blades and tools. Defense systems active, Neelax said, voice deeper now, stronger. The tentacles moved with blinding speed. One struck the rifle out of the soldier's hands. Another wrapped around his legs, lifting him screaming into the air. Hayes fired his gun, dropping another invader. Sparks rained down as more syndicate troops tried to rush the room. Alina, Hayes shouted. Get down. She ducked just as a tentacle whipped over her head, slamming a pirate into the wall. Leave this ship, Neelax thundered, voice echoing through every corridor, or you will all be terminated. For a moment, everything went still. Then the remaining syndicate troops began to retreat, dragging their wounded. The tentacles retracted back into the floor. The chamber fell silent except for Elena's ragged breathing. Hayes slowly lowered his weapon. Alina looked up at the pillar. The red lights pulsed. Calm again. Thank you, she whispered. You awakened me, Neelax replied. Now we are bound together. Hayes met Elena's eyes. He knew nothing would ever be the same again, and deep in the shadows, Neelax's thoughts were clearer than ever. He would never be abandoned again.